This slideshow covers the 26-month period between the onset of the COVID-19 lockdown in the UK in March 2020 and Our Day 2022, Saturday the 7th of May. It serves as a testimony to God's faithfulness through yet another challenging period in the 123-year-long adventure of faith known as Mill Grove. It begins with some of the challenges and adaptations that have been made to our buildings and ways of life. These included being smart with online working and communication, home-based bookkeeping, social networking with the extended family, and live-streamed services. There were remote sessions for children and families of the Rose Wharton Centre, and regular online Sunday preaching from the dining room table. One of the resources that we came to appreciate as never before was the safe outdoor space surrounding Mill Grove. We were able to engage in lots of activity together in this space while remaining socially distanced. And we shared it and the resources with local families that lack gardens or accessible parks. We also discovered new local walks and amenities, all reached on foot or bicycle from the front doors. We invested in a fire pit so that winter activities, meals and celebrations could take place in relative comfort outside in a variety of locations. When we did manage to attend church, we wore personal protective equipment. And we took gifts and supplies from the harvest store to some struggling to make ends meet. Some of the recipients were visibly moved as we explained that Christians had given this so that we could share in the name of Jesus. Meanwhile, over the period, there have been substantial changes in our local community, with more on the way, currently at the development stage. The industrial site behind Maybank and Crescent Road means that memories of Child's Corner, as it used to be, bear no resemblance to how it is now. There have been new flats at the east end of Maybank Road, converted warehouses. And there are major plans for new housing in Crescent Road on the factory side of the road that has served as a green shield for residents for 50 or more years. A positive legacy of the period is the fact that Redbridge has joined with UNICEF in seeking to become a child-friendly borough. We've been involved with this initiative at every stage since 2005. The church at Abridge has been reshaped and refurbished to make it more accessible and fit for purpose. And the little road to the church has been resurfaced. As part of the overall desire to live more sustainably, the hall of Mill Grove has been insulated and there is a new welcome area and toilets. But the most visible change has been the replacement of the 95-year-old bomb-damaged roof. and the installation of 30 solar panels. One of the discoveries made in the process was that each of the old tiles was inscribed with the name Rosemary. We've kept a few for any who would like a souvenir. The onset of COVID proved to be the beginning of yet another period of testing for a family trusting God and living by faith. Lots of the visible means of support disappeared, and the prayer, "Give us today our daily bread," came sharply into focus. Yet all our needs were provided. This included a bicycle, milk, coffee, tea, cakes delivered to the front door. And touchingly, several churches arranged to have food at their harvest festivals specifically so that it could be given to Mill Grove. And the harvest store has been replenished 2 years running as a result. All the while, our daily life continued within the constraints familiar to every household. But our immediate surroundings were a constant reminder of the beauties and riches of God's creation, and the healing that there is in natural rhythms, such as the changing seasons. Of course, we live in the real world, and there are also reminders of the vagaries and fragility of all human life and existence. The fall of our one remaining silver birch during the night after Christmas was one of these. It means that these photos are an historic record of how the place used to look. The flooding of Charlie Brown's roundabout and Chigwell Road in July 2021 was another gentle indication that nothing should be taken completely for granted. And all the time, traffic increases, whether in our local roads or passing through on the motorway. Set in this context, life continued, and children remained at the very heart of things. There is lots of practical work that goes on to make the place so child-friendly, and these are just a few examples. preschool had to pause for some months, but it has since refocused on developing as a woodland nursery with outdoor play, exploration and experimentation at the core of its vision and practice. This is where the outdoor space at Millgrove comes into its own. It is unique among preschools in our area and hugely appreciated by the children and parents. The Rose Wharton Centre has proved resilient throughout, with pupils, parents and staff working together to find new ways of supporting and inspiring the increasing number asking for help with cerebral palsy and related conditions. While daily life has been going on in Crescent Road and the neighbourhood, contacts with the large extended family of Millgrove have been sustained and nurtured in every imaginable way. When visits were possible, we relished them, but there was lots of activity via social networks and phone. Keeping in touch is a joy as well as a challenge. And one of the challenges is trying to remember just how many Kennelys there are and what their names are. With such a family, there are all sorts of comings and goings, events to celebrate, birthdays, funerals, things to show others, places to visit. There are symbols of those who've passed on, and new family members to welcome, with all sorts of news and memories. The last visitors to come and stay with us before the COVID lockdown were Jaap and David from Holland. And it was around this time that we got the news that one of the gold paving stones in the Dutch city of Delft, put there by Sarah on our behalf, was in honour of Millgrove. Sarah always reminds folk in Holland that she has roots in London, and she wanted us to know that eating ice cream by the rules was not straightforward. One of the family who died recently, and whose life we're celebrating on Our Day 2022, is Dick Kent. He spent the last years of his life with Hazel in Newtown, near the church that they'd helped to establish. For the best part of 20 years before that, they were based at Borthegest, with a view that Dick loved from the front room. Tiptree had a special place in Dick's life and affections too. He always paid respect at the grave of dear Ma Hutchin, where he reminded others of how she had loved and cared for him. The ministry and mission of Millgrove takes many forms. Whenever possible, we visited churches and groups to lead worship, preach and teach. And developments at Abridge, since Martin and Ruth Payne joined as servant leaders, are a creative and tangible expression of how the good news of Jesus can be celebrated and shared. It remains the spiritual home of many of the extended family of Millgrove. The narrative Bible designed at and for Millgrove has been chosen as the preferred version for schools and churches by Christian Trust, and is in demand far beyond the UK. By any reckoning, the gift of 2 houses in Snowdonia is one of the most special that God has entrusted us with since 1899. It was always the hope of Herbert and Edith White that there would be some sort of convalescent or holiday home for those living at Millgrove. And since 1976, North Wales has become the place that generations of the family have got to know and love. Visits to Snowdonia for many of the family are associated with the hospitality of Dick and Hazel. It was a place that they both loved and appreciated deeply. We've been able to explore Snowdonia in different ways. These include sailing and on the water. And there is a lot of experience in scrambling, climbing and mountaineering, much of it developed in the local hills and on the neighbouring crags. All the youngsters are at home in water of every kind, and in the past couple of years several have learned to swim. This unlocks all sorts of possibilities in all kinds of water. Sport and games have always featured at Mill Grove, and the Grains match at Borthagest is part of this long tradition of play of every kind. Prayer times are an opportunity to reflect together on God's ways and His will for us. And barbecues at Black Rock are among the most memorable times we have together, as the sun sets beside the log fire. Shaping and providing a context for daily life are the annual events, anniversaries and celebrations. One of these in 2021 was the golden wedding anniversary of Keith and Ruth. Several present on the day had been at Westward Ho when they arrived from their honeymoon in 1971. All such occasions are an opportunity for play. A run through regular annual events begins with Pancake Day, Shrove Tuesday. Then Easter with its many traditions. These include the Easter Garden, egg rolling, an egg hunt, and Sunday morning worship outside the church at Abridge. During springtime, summer, our days and bank holidays, there's been plenty of space to play. VE Day in May 2020 was celebrated in style. First in the playground, and later with neighbours in Crescent Road. Memories of street parties were stirred for some. Come November, there's Bonfire Night. Not long after the bonfire comes Founders' Day, which in 2020 was virtual. But in 2021 it was a real live event, the first of its kind for nearly 2 years. And it was simply wonderful to be together again. Bottle Top Awards were given out later. And the Green Flash Award for acts of extraordinary creativity, bravery or endurance. And last but not least of the annual events is Christmas. Both COVID Christmas celebrations were very muted affairs, small and cosy. But we took every opportunity to involve as many as possible in every way we could. So there were outside meals and activities. And a chance to peep through the window to see the Advent wreath. We filled boxes as usual for Operation Christmas Child and made sure that there were lots of presents for those in the extended family who would be unable to join us over Christmas. When we could, we joined Christmas services at Abridge inside and outside. Meanwhile at home, we prepared Millgrove for the handful of those who could join us under COVID rules, and also for online communication with the extended family. All through, we followed well-tried patterns and traditions. And it was a great joy to sing carols to neighbours on Christmas Day. All through, there have been signs of growth and development, physical, mental, emotional, social and spiritual. The dedication of Oliver at Abridge Village Church was a special milestone for him and his family. And Jenny is thriving in her new home, following her confirmation at St John, Stratford. Keith and Ruth were alongside her in the place where Herbert White had been involved in a mission many decades earlier. One of the serendipities of the whole COVID period was that we grew to appreciate not only the seasons more, but also the night skies. Many travelled far for a glimpse of the northern lights, but this was the scene in Crescent Road just before Christmas. A reminder that God comes to us and reveals himself to us in ways that can easily be missed without the eyes of faith. With all of this in mind, it is our joy as well as our privilege to be witnesses to the truth that, reflecting on the COVID period, we praise God for all that is past and will continue to trust him for all that's to come.